Hi, everyone. My name's Tammy Eisenreich, and I'm a parent partner for the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And today I'm thrilled to be talking to one of my autism warrior moms that I started on my journey with probably about 15 years ago, Julie DeArmon. She's going to share a little bit about her journey and what she did to fundraise and make the pieces fall into place to be able to do what she wanted to do for her child, not necessarily what her insurance was saying she could do. So welcome, Julie. Thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Ben.
Well, Ben is now 17, almost 18. Now we're in the county system. He goes to public school. It's a fantastic program up here. But back when he was first diagnosed at about 1.5 years, 2 years old, the services just weren't very good up here. It was like maybe a half-hour speech, half-hour of OT every week. And I knew from my previous experience of working with children with autism, and I'm also a licensed occupational therapy assistant, that he needed intensive therapy at a young age. So we went looking for programs. There still wasn't much up here in Michigan. So we went down into Toledo and found what was called the CHIP program through Mercy at the time. The only problem was it was $30,000, I think, wasn't it, Tammy? And we were not eligible for the Ohio Autism Scholarship because we were Michigan residents. So we had to come up with the full $30,000 on our own. So we did apply to some grants. They were small. So we decided to do some additional private fundraising to get some of the money. We did 7, I believe, golf outings. We did a big spaghetti dinner, silent auction. We did a t-shirt drive. And all in all, we raised, I would say, about 30,000 over several years, which sounds like a lot, but just the therapy, 2 years of CHIP and 2 years of CK was over $100,000. So grants did help. Eventually insurance helped a little bit. We had some generous family and friends who also helped us out. So it was difficult, but we got it done. You wanted me to talk a little bit about some of the other things that we did. In addition to the intensive therapy, we also tried some different biomedical things, and we continue to do so. We found an amazing doctor in Texas. So that was a lot of flying back and forth, a lot of expense. He was worth it, but it was just added expense on top everything else. We did the hyperbaric chamber. And then, there were always summer camps, additional therapy, things like that. So
something unique with the hyperbaric chamber. You rented one for 30 days.
We rented one. At the time, Dr. Linsk up in Ann Arbor, who I believe he's moved on. He's actually a psychiatrist now, and I think he's further up into Michigan, but he was just starting his practice. He had a couple of hyperbaric chambers, and we were able to have it in our house to do the treatments, which was wonderful. He discounted it as much as he could, but it was still quite expensive, but it was actually really helpful for Ben. He had a lot of gut issues, a lot of health issues at the time that we saw got better with those treatments and continued to be better. It wasn't something that we had to continue to do through the years.
So you were able to do like 2 sessions a day, right?
I think it was 2 sessions a day. He was so young at the time. I want to say he was 3 or 4. So we would go in with him. It was kind of relaxing and enjoyable. So it was just a lot more convenient than trying to drive up to Ann Arbor once or twice a day.
I just remember breaking it down cost-wise. It just seems so much. I have $3,000 or whatever in my head, but I remember thinking when you looked at what one session was, here you had it for a full month at your convenience. I don't know. It just, that to me was a unique way of looking at it and thinking about it. And I don't know. I thought it was you. Maybe it was another parent that actually got the hyperbaric chamber through the University of Michigan. Was that his connection or no?
His office was at the University of Michigan. I don't know in what way he was affiliated with them, but it was his chamber. He owned 2 of them, I believe. And he came to the house himself and set it up and showed me how to use it. So it was pretty cool. But
Yeah,
that
we
was
almost got one from Demio, but man, our square footage of our house is so small. That was like the deciding factor. We just couldn't fit it anywhere.
Yeah, that was before we had my second son. So we had an empty bedroom. That was because it's huge. It was huge. It took up the whole room pretty much. And we were trying to wedge ourselves in.
Well, and Jeremy's pretty tall too. I mean, just the thought. I
Yes.
mean, you said Ben was only 3 or 4, but yeah, it's
It
I
was
guess
cozy.
the thing, would you be willing to share a little bit what you remember about to decide to put on a golf outing? I mean, that had to be, I mean, maybe your family likes to golf. I remember that you have family in the community that's linked with restaurants. I don't remember. I just remember it seemed like when you were fundraising for it and going around looking for sponsors or whole sponsors and those type of things, I felt like as a parent, that never would have crossed my mind to do it because I'm not from Toledo. I'm from the Cleveland area and John's from Defiance, so I didn't feel like I had the local connections to approach a business. Was that what you did? Or was it easier to cold call, take your letter of your story?
What happened, if I remember correctly, my husband Jeremy went to a golf outing. I don't even know if it was a fundraiser. And I think somebody mentioned it to him. And I think that might have even started our thought process. Maybe we can raise the money ourselves because we were just going to give up. I mean, we were like, what are we going to do? Do we take a loan? What do we do? And we realized how relatively easy a golf outing was because the course itself does so much of the legwork. I mean, there's a lot of prep that goes into. You need sponsors and you need prizes and you have to make signs and all that. But we used Giant Oak up here in Michigan, and they were very supportive, very helpful. They discount the price per golfer so that you're making a little money on each golfer in addition to all the extra stuff that you do. And it came together pretty quickly for us because we had a lot of golfers in our support system. My husband works up in Warren, Michigan at the Detroit Arsenal, but like so many of his coworkers were willing to come down for the day and golf. My dad's a big golfer, so he had a bunch of people. We had some friends, so we had pretty good turnouts. And I think that in a way we were lucky with the turnouts that we would get at those because we had a lot of golfers. We tried to make it fun. We tried to make it get good prizes, and I think year after year it grew a little bit because of that. Kind of got lucky.
Oh, the connections and being comfortable in sharing your story. I think I also remember you used, for some reason, I remember a letter, and I don't know if it was like your newsletter that you sent out on an annual basis, but I remember just you sharing like your journey with Ben, like where you're at and what you saw for him. And I mean, and really thanking the community that came around you to support you on your journey with him. And
yeah, I felt like it was very important because we did go around to local businesses asking for sponsorship or donated prizes, things like that. And I think it was very important to me to have something printed out and explain why we were doing this. I was pretty upfront with, this is how much this therapy program costs, plus we're doing these trips to Texas and this and this. And, the insurance won't pay it. We're not eligible for the Ohio Autism Scholarship. So I wanted them to know why we were doing it. And also that we were trying to provide something for the money. We weren't just asking for money. We wanted to give them sponsorship. We wanted to give them visibility if they, donated prizes with their logo on it or whatever it was. To me, that was important. It was very hard for me to ask just for a handout. I wanted to give something in return, and I wanted them to understand why we were doing it.
So what is your background? I mean, you're not a business company major like that was, yeah, like, so
I
to do
sort
this,
of am.
well, now
I was. And then ironically, before we had been, I switched careers and went to school to be an occupational therapy assistant. And to put myself through school, I actually worked with kids with autism doing ABA. um, Little did I know that that was preparing me for a very long future in that. But so I think that was part of it too, is that I had that coming in knowing what Ben's needs were as soon as he was diagnosed. I think that's a benefit that some families unfortunately don't have. You know, it's so overwhelming, and it was overwhelming, but at least I knew right away, okay, this is what we need to do. So, I mean, that's why we found the CHIP program. I knew that intensive therapy was going to be important.
Yep.
But then it was a rude awakening to see how expensive services were and how not supported they were by insurance at the time.
Yeah. You also had a relationship with your Lions Club, is that right? Do I remember when you talked about grants?
They typically did not give grants for such things, but they said they were so moved by my letter that they did give us a little bit of a grant. We got grants from United Children's Health Fund, eventually Northwest Ohio Apraxia Support, which I heard is closing. That's sad. Project I Am, of course, iTalk. So we did that too. We were doing the grants. There were a couple other organizations that either supported us directly or were big sponsors for our golf outings. We had Nissan. We had a local Subway who donated all the food a year or two. Merrill Lynch, they were a big sponsor. We had a sign maker, local sign maker, who did all the whole signs for our sponsors for us, free of charge. We were very lucky.
Well,
Very
no,
lucky.
was you maybe stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit and approaching them, sharing your story and why. I always tell families, the more specific your need is, it's easier for people to help. I think, you know, we all could use a little bit of help, but
Yes,
the more your
definitely.
story was one page, right? Am I remembering? It was like a
Yeah, I
one.
tried to keep it short and simple. I didn't want, 10 pages that they had to work through. I put Ben's picture on it. I explained as briefly as possible why we needed it, what specific needs he had, and what we were asking of them, a sponsorship or donation or prizes, whatever. And I think it definitely was not in my comfort zone at the time. And I think the only thing that got me through it is it's for Ben. It's for Ben. I have to do this for Ben. If it was
And then
for
once
myself,
it worked,
I
don't you feel like once you had some success, you're like, okay, you know, it wasn't like you
yes,
were.
yes. It was still a little, but and that's in addition to the funds we were able to raise. Especially having a big event like a golf outing, it was so cool to see like a whole room full of people were there for Ben, to support Ben. We always brought Ben to the outing. He'd drive around in the golf cart, and it was such an incredible feeling. It was exhausting and a lot of work, but at the end, it was just so amazing to see that and to feel like we had a little community around us kind of cheering on for Ben. It was awesome.
Good. Well, I think that's all I have. You have any questions out there? Let's see. Questions there, Kate?
Yes, thank you for sharing your story. What you don't realize is that there are times that your story is that inspiration, that like putting the focus back on Ben, putting the focus back on the kiddo, putting the focus back on why we do the things that we do. And I just want to say thank you, because every time that fundraising gets hard, literally I think, okay, if Julie can do this as a one-woman band, I can do this for an agency. And that's not exaggeration. Like literally you don't even realize the impact that you made then and now. So really and truly, we thank you. We thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for doing what you did, because you were the inspiration for the rest of us and those that, you know, kind of came behind you. And we're still trying to figure out how to pay for all of the things.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. But I definitely was not a one-woman band because I had a lot of help. My husband's awesome. My parents, our family was just so much help. And I mean, both with connections and with physically helping with the way to be done. So I was pretty lucky.
Well, thank you again. And if
Actually, I have one thing
Yeah.
that I would like to note is people thinking about doing the golf outing is a great thing to do to raise money, either for an organization or for private. But I think it's really important to think of your own support system and what people are going to support, because there's so many GoFundMe's and all this out now. It's very unlikely that you're going to get a lot of stranger support anymore, unless it's a really like specific immediate need. Sometimes I think maybe those do, but I've seen people trying to do golf outings that really don't know any golfers, and those, you know, don't do as well. You'll get like friends of friends who come, but if you don't have any golfers, that might not be a great event. There are a lot of other things that you could do. We did the t-shirt drive. We've done raffles. The spaghetti dinner was good. You can get affiliated with a church or an organization for that, and that will bring a lot of people in. So kind of think about that. Also, you don't want to do too many through the year where you're kind of flooding all your support system with, you know, every month we're doing a different fundraiser. You just want to do maybe 1 or 2 a year to kind of space them out. And I found that that was helpful to be a little bit more successful and bring a little more money in. And like I said, I really like to give them something for their money. You know, GoFundMe wasn't, I don't even think around back then. I'm not sure, but I always like to try to, you know, where you feel more like you're selling something or giving a little back.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So, well, thank you again. And
Thank you.
I want to let everyone know that next month, August 30th, I'll be speaking with Matthew, I'm going to butcher his name, Reichener from Sarah's Garden, and he's going to talk about the hyperbaric chamber and how he helps families fundraise for it by using his 501c3 that the families can approach businesses. So thanks again. This video can be found in all past videos at lucasdd.org under Finding Funds. Have a great day.